Hi, my name is Indra. My number is 62122247 for EIB 2061 final assessment, which is supply chain management. For this presentation, I'm talking about AI-enabled supply chain transformation for Sapura Energy Berhad, and this is presented for my fellow lecturer, Madam Siti Mariam Intiman. So, good day, everyone. Welcome to our presentation. Today, I'm presenting a strategic chain analysis of Sapura Energy Berhad, one of Malaysia's premier globally integrated oil and gas service providers, operating a Tier 1 EPCIC champion across more than 20 countries. Sapura manages massive upstream capital assets, including its prominent in Lumut fabrication yard and a specialized maritime fleet. However, as many of us know, Sapura is currently operating under Bursa's Malaysia's Practice Note 17, which is under financial distress classification. In this highly volatile market environment, transitioning from traditional operational workflows to an agile, technology-driven supply chain model isn't just an upgrade anymore, but it is a critical necessities and basic needs for corporate survival and project executions. So, first of all, we can see that we have organization profile, which is Sapura Berhad is a leading Malaysian global integrated energy service provider. And one is the main core segments or key activities is engineering and construction (E&C), operation and maintenance (O&M), and also drilling the oil. So in currently, just like I said in Bursa Malaysia, page 17, currently Sapura Energy under PN70 status, financial restructuring, we will focus on clearing 10.8 billion ringgit in debt. So supply chain, why it is important? Because managing a multi-billion dollar assets requires extreme precision to ensure project delivery and effectiveness. So let's go for identification of current issues where supply disruptions, high logistic costs, and ESG sustainability pressure. So through my analysis, I have identified three main SCM issues, which is supply chain management issues related to supply and demand. First, we see severe supply disruptions where, due to tight working capital, disbursement to key vendors are frequently delayed, prompting major subsys OEMs or original equipment manufacturing to halt shipments or demand cash on delivery. This freezes critical path project items. Second, Sakura really struggles with high logistic costs. A lack of integrated, real-time data tracking means multi-million dollar pipeline vessels often sit idling, waiting for late arrival fabricated module, creating massive daily cost overruns, or we call it overheats. Finally, the firm faced mounting ESG and sustainability pressure, where regional leaders like Petronas and international oil majors now mandate strict Scope 1, 2, and 3 emission disclosures during contract bidding. Sapura's lack of digital carbon tracking risks cutting it out of lucrative future energy tenders. So to understand Sapura Berhad more, this is the Sapura Energy Berhad supply chain mapping. So to understand how these bottlenecks interact, let's look at Sapura structural supply chain map, where we can see from this image, Sapura operating on an engineering two-order models. The physical flow move from global tier 2 raw steel mills down to specialized tier 1 subsea equipment manufacturers converging at the Lumot yard for structural fabrication before the moving offshore for final commissioning. When we analyze these three core flows, we can see that they have severe fragmentation. While the physical material flow is capital intensive and really slow, the informational flow is completely siloed within legacy ERP system, causing a bullwhip effect when schedules change. More importantly, or more critically, the financial flow, whilst relies on rigid milestones-based payout compliance, is bottleneck, choking off the working capital and needed to keep the upstream tiers moving smoothly. So let's move on to the root cause analysis, where we have four main branches: financial methods, manpower and culture, machinery and assets, and also measurement and data. So to uncover the true or deep structural drivers behind these delays and cost overruns, I conducted the root cause analysis using a fishbone framework. Other methods, we found that procurement processes remain reactive and dependent on manual validation, which worsen the payment friction. Looking at machinery part, vessel routing is handled statically, ignoring real-time port congestion and weather feeds, which drive fuel burn costs upwards and increase the fuel cost. For manpower, A clear digital literacy gap and cultural resistance to automated systems prevent the seamless update of collaborative platforms. And lastly, in measurement and data, there is an absence of unified data streams to measure carbon intensity or track inventory levels dynamically at the yard. This explains why errors ripple through Sapura Energy Berhad project delivery cycles. So let's move on to the next, which is technology and AI solution portfolio, which is there are three main: predictive analytics, digital twins, and blockchains. To systematically, eliminate these root causes, I propose a targeted suite of advanced digital technologies. First, I recommend for Sapura to deploy AI-driven predictive analytics with procurement by feeding machine learning models, historical vendor data, and macroeconomic and microeconomic feeds. We can predict supplier defaults and dynamically pivot to pre-vetted regional alternative before bottlenecks happen. Second, by utilizing IOI telematics, we can build a fleet digital twin. This virtual replica of our ops of Sapura Energy offshore assets simulates millions of route variables to optimize vessel positioning and slash high fuel costs. Third, I introduced permission blockchain to generate immutable material passports for steel components, giving clients validated audit data regarding Scope 3 emissions while deploying smart contracts to automate vendor invoicing. So let's move on to key strategic recommendations where we have AI-enabled vendor risk indexing for short term, dynamic fleet optimization for medium term, blockchain EFD passport for long term project. So the slide displays which categorize the five core main strategies. So for image short term, the priorities are predictive sorting indexing to stabilize the supply lines and optimize material tracking. So for medium term, which is fleet digital twins, to repair vendor relationships and reduce operational costs. And finally, long-term strategic play is the blockchain-based ESG passport architecture. This structured approach ensures that Sapura Energy Berhad address immediate liquidity constraints while positioning itself for competitive global contracts. So what can we expect? So expected benefit is 15% or 25%, 50% to 25% more reduction in operational waste and distort vendor trust relationship. So moving on to implementation roadmap for we have phase one for 0 to 3 months, phase two to 3 to 6 months, phase three for 6 to 12 months, and phase four 12 months and more. So to execute this initiate smoothly without overextending the capital and money, phase one we need to running through month three, which is focused on data audits and launching the predictive yard and supplier platform. Phase two, bring the asset telemetry live, installing IoT Internet of Things systems to optimize vessel dispatching. And moving into phase three, scale the data ecosystem to integrate the tier one vendors directly into cloud platform while launching smart invoicing. And by phase four, achieve full ecosystem maturity, activating the blockchain ledger to unlock middleware and run continuously data quality audits. For ethical considerations and conclusions, for ethical concerns, need to ensure that AI transparency and preventing algorithmic bias or human bias against small accepted vendors, and also for human factor, prioritizing staff reskilling to prevent job displacement. So although implementing new technologies does not mean that we change the human factor, but we will prioritize the staff to upskill and reskill their jobs to cope with the current changes and updates. So as we conclude, we must acknowledge that this digital transformation carries deep ethical and social responsibilities. Expanding the digital footprint requires a zero-trust cybersecurity framework to protect sensitive subsea blueprints and vendor financial records. So we must also govern our AI models to eliminate algorithmic bias that could unfairly penalize small nations and suppliers. Most importantly, we commit to human capital development through workforce scaling, transitioning our manual data handlers into skilled logistic coordinators. So final word, technology is the primary lever to exit PN70 status and reclaim competitiveness. So this can ensure that Sapura Energy can close their gap but also increase their revenue. So ultimately, modernizing Sapura Energy's supply chain isn't just about operational survival or financial survival. It is about building an ethical, highly resilient, and sustainable foundation that positions Malaysia at the forefront of the global energy transition. Thank you very much for your time and welcome.